Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon Ranked. Today, not a live replay, or a live segment. I've decided to forego those because they are just hampering my gameplay. It is quite difficult to try and do commentary at the same time as I'm trying to play the game, as I found that it just takes away from my focus on the game. I'm trying to not only play it, but also formulate coherent-ish thoughts on what I'm doing and then trying to explain that in the video. So, it is a replay that you're getting today. Now, I decided to mix things up a little, and I started practicing with a USSR deck. So, USSR General deck, it is based on the one that was put together by Genghis and Putin 187, and you can find it linked down below in the description. It's not necessarily ideal, I'm still adjusting it as I'm going through it, and the USSR deck, based on what I have, what I've discussed / what have been explained by Lord Pi and Victor, it's a pretty difficult deck to play. It's something that you really have to learn, and there are a lot of different variations for it. Versus, apparently, the Baltic deck that I was using in the previous several videos, which does not have that much, you can of course adjust it as you see fit, but it doesn't necessarily lead to a completely different playstyle. Now, my plan here with my tanks is to try and push to the forest over here. This is where I want to be. It's a bit of a leap, but if I can get here, I thought that I could dominate the Foxtrot zone as well as ensure that there were no units going to Gulf. Of course, I cannot see beyond the shadow of the tree line here, but still, I thought this might be a decent idea. At least worth a try. So what I have is a Nona, and this is my first mistake. The Nona is a pretty decent mobile smoker, a decent mobile fire supporter, but the smoke capability is limited. I need a different mortar in my deck. This mortar is providing smoke for the T-72 1989s, and a Tunguska makes sure that nothing gets shot at from the skies, and a BMP-T to deal with general infantry stuff. I have two Mi-8 MTVs with Razvedka inside, there's another one here, and over to the left I have the Skirmishes with a Factoria, BTR-90 with Spetsnaz GRU, and some Motostrelki to make sure that this town remains mine. So the majority of my forces going to Gulf. Some of my reconnaissance going to different flanks, but interestingly, my opponent, Chopser, rank of captain, decided to bring in two Mirage 111Cs, and these are dropping napalm. Thank God I'm not using motorized units, at least not here, because they immediately start locking down the roads. And fortunately, the tanks and the BMP-T got off-road very quickly. The Mi-8 did not get any kind of damage from it, and the Nona was off-road the moment that I saw those bombers come in. So that worked. But my fairly aggressive drop-off here with the Razvedka did not. There was both a Krotal and a Tiger shooting at me, and I lost both of the helos. So I decided to drop off the Razvedka here. Another one of the Razvedka groups. And that one too gets swiftly dealt with. Now, I'm not exactly sure if Chopser is using a motorized deck or not. I suspect that he is, but I haven't really found any conclusive evidence to support that. He has a bit of Jaeger, Fuchs, VDAA, and a 10RC over there. Majority of his forces are also over here. They're all motorized. There are some AGGMs, but I thought this is where my tanks can come in handy. Of course, I didn't know this at the time. I'm just looking at this for the second time, as this is the second time I'm going through the replay. So I'm trying to get my tanks forward, but I'm blind. I have no reconnaissance. And that's when I realized, oh, hold on, maybe this is not the best idea. I do not want to lose my tanks, which are 140 points each, nor my BMP-T, so I pull them both back. And I decide to just hold. Some games in Ranked have been decided very, very quickly. Some of them have not. I was hoping that this one was not going to get decided very, very quickly, and that I would have at least some time to launch a counteroffensive. But basically, with every minute that passes, my chances of moving into Gulf and or Foxtrot were diminishing. Because by giving him more time, he was consistently reinforcing this position. as well he should have been. Over on the left, Spetsnaz Gru offloaded, BTR 90 covering the road here. I got a Victoria, a Modestrelki in case something comes up from the side. And I have a couple of Rozvedka in a Hilo, as well as an MTLBV with some Modestrelki to defend this side. Unfortunately, the AMX 10RC and VAP 2013, backed up by a VDAA, is going to make this side difficult to approach. At this point, I do a little bit of an offensive. Since I now have a spotter, I can actually try and shoot something with my tanks. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try and push it. I'm just going to try and deal damage to whatever I can. Because the more I can keep him on his toes, the better. And the more I can just bait and switch with smokescreens and HGMs, the better. Because these guys only carry 6. I pretty much knew that he had HGMs here. I just didn't know what kind. But there really weren't that many options. Now, he comes in with the Peace Rhine and the 111C. The Peace Rhine's the killer. This one's more of the, let's say, morale damage dealer. Because that one's going to try and burn me down. The Peace Rhine misses. It does kill a Hilo that was landed. The 1989s are still inside their smokescreen, so they're safe. The Mirage 111C takes a lot of damage and goes down. Tunguska survived. BMPT survived. My tanks are still fine because napalm doesn't do much. At this point, they are a little worried, but otherwise fine. Unfortunately, my reinforcements coming in from the right flank are not. This was just a mishap. I really should not have pushed over there. It was not a good idea. Now, at this point, I have kept the 1989s in the smokescreen for too long, or sorry, in the burning area for too long, and they are getting quite shaken. Fuchs Milan is trying to hit me with HEGMs, but instead tries to go for the Tunguska, I think, which is of course a potentially more valuable target at this point, as when the Tunguska dies, he can just push everything else with a Hilo. And he does get the Tunguska with a Fuchs Milan, of all things. I smoke up again, and this is where I make another mistake. I get too close to the Jaeger. Now, they don't kill me, but this could have easily been problematic. Over here, I try to get an MI8 over to the side, bring Rozvedka here, and make sure I do not get flanked. But this VDAA is not having much of that. Fortunately, I'm sort of skirting the edge of its range, so maybe the Rozvedka can survive. Yeah, they did survive. I pulled them back. Now, at this point, I'm once again operating blind. I need something to shoot me for long enough for me to be able to shoot it. Which is a terribly, terribly great plan. It is not going to work. I need more spotters. So I bring up a K-52, which is a very expensive spotter. But then what I have in this deck is the Spetsnaz Gru in both BTR 90 and in a Hilo. The alternative is the Rozvedka in their Hilo, and the alternative to that is the K-52. So I thought, okay, I'll bring in the 52. Of course, there's a Krotal here, and the Krotal is not particularly hospitable to my 52. Thank God it misses, but that could have been a very expensive loss. Now at this point I'm going, okay, this is probably going to snowball to the point where he reinforces Golf, he reinforces Bravo-ish, and he just captures Foxtrot, Charlie, Golf. I might be able to contest Bravo, I will cap Alpha, but that's about the extent of it. So, I'm going to try and flank. Spetsnaz Gru off to the side, making sure that I can see the guys over here. Or at least try. He's bringing up some logistics, I'm bringing up some OSAs, because he did seem to be fairly heavily reliant upon air power. And over here I try to maneuver with the VDV before they get shot at by not a mortar, but a whole Caesar back there. And I try to get into the tree line, but then I get completely stuck over there. I was able to drop off the Rozvedka here. I have my MI8 landed over there to make sure it doesn't attract attention. And I'm trying to get the Rozvedka in a position from where I can spot stuff as it tries to move to this flank. So just passive information gathering, not preparing for an offensive at all. Also bringing over some MTLBVs with more reinforcements / defensive units for here. At this point, it's pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot happening. Both parties, both myself and Chopser, are just reinforcing the positions. I have captured Hotel. Not necessarily a great plan, because I don't have a lot. But I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get a little bit of a tick going to force him to buy a CV. And at the same time, we got his CV coming in. I think it gets spotted by the Spetsnaz, but I don't have a killer. I cannot get in there. Using an aircraft, as I found out later, is not a great idea. Because he has the Fab, he has the Crotal, he has the Tiger, which can also pitch in, he has another Crotal. There is quite a lot of NTR up and about. This time he doubled up on Caesars. He's just slowly trying to eliminate / weaken some of my units. And he doesn't really do that well because I don't have anything there. Except, well, the BMPT, but that thing can take a bit of a beating. Now at this point, just bringing in some more units. I thought, okay, if I'm not going to be able to push here, I'm going to try and do it over there. So MTLBVs with Motostrelki coming in, backed up by Skrajet and VDV inside of those. He's just shelling a town with both of the Caesars, doing a bit of damage against the Motostrelki, but it doesn't really matter that much because he's not trying to do an offensive there. The Spetsnaz Gru at this point are trying to get eyes on what he has. Unfortunately, I'm not able to spot the Caesars, which I find a bit weird in retrospect because these are not stealthy units. They're just poor stealth big units. But they are on the move and they're moving away from the binoculars of the Spetsnaz, so they probably can't see them. Trying to sneak in was not an option because I saw this thing and it would definitely see me. Could it have won against the BTR? Probably not. But the BTR would have been very quickly finished off by anything that spawned over there as a reactionary force. So that was not quite going to work. Still, the objective for me was just to drag out the battle. To give myself more time to think and give myself more time to try and react. Not necessarily the best idea, but I thought that pushing at this point over here was suicide. Because I only have one unit of infantry with a vehicle, one without, and I have 2 tanks without a spotter. Over here, I might be able to push, but I don't really have the fire support or the anti-air that I want. And I know that he's using quite a lot of firepower from the sky. F4F doing patrol, Brendryen killing, and the Tiger finds the BTR as well as the Spetsnaz Gru, and I lose both. More of a temporary distraction rather than an actual successful offensive. I guesstimate the position over there and I fire a Uragan at it. Doesn't really hit anything whatsoever. His Caesars try to retaliate. Interestingly, not from the position where the Uragan was firing from because I moved it. But it kind of got hit anyway. Fortunately, not deadly. It survived. Once again, the Mirage 111C comes in and drops more napalm. Unfortunately, just as I'm about to push. I'm not sure how he knew this, but it was a good move. Unfortunately for him, it kind of missed. Because I wasn't there anymore. I was already moving up. Now, the Tornado ECR takes out both of my NTR units, both of my OSAs, so unfortunately I don't have that anymore. And that basically means I'm completely out of NTR. So I quickly get a MiG-25 PD in and try to do some damage against his plane. But it's not the only one. The Tornado ECR pushes, 2 Peace Rhines push as well. I'm not sure what they're trying to get. But it seems like they're trying to hunt down the 25 PD. And as they're trying to do that, the K-52 does some damage to it. Another PD gets spawned in and promptly shot at by the F4. And we have our nice little air fight pretty much concluded at this point. Another 23 MLD was what I spawned in to try and kill the Peace Rhine, but it evacs before I'm able to kill it. Now my maneuver here did take quite a bit of a beating from both the extended napalm over there as well as the defensive forces. There's an MX-13 anti-air. There's a 30B2 over there, which is defending. Let's see, is this something you can get in motorized? I think it's a motorized deck. Because I never saw anything heavier than an AMX 30B2, I think. So, time to bring in more units. Would I have wanted to get in here? I would have had to defeat 2 ATGMs, as well as a couple of sections of Jaeger, which you can definitely beat with KTs. It would just get expensive. The 2 Crotales means that any aerial units are at grave risk. And with a Fernspeyer there and a Fernspeyer there, he has plenty of optics. Still, this might, in retrospect, have been the easier position to push at, believe it or not. Now, at this point, he's moving forward with the Tiger, so I think, ooh, now I gotcha. So I used the Skirmishes and their NTR units, or their NTR firepower, to push forward, but they open up on the Panther, thus giving the Tiger plenty of warning to go, oh crap, I need to get out of here. So the Tiger gets pulled back, the Panther starts doing all sorts of aerial acrobatics through the tree line, and promptly maneuvers away. I fire at it again, and I do take it down, which means that at least one unit with rocket pods less to worry about. Pull the Skirmishes back, and just try to be look tough and intimidating, and hope that he doesn't push. More MTLBVs are coming in with reinforcements. There's a Panther coming in with command vehicle, and this is pretty much what I was expecting. I thought, okay, I have Hotel, I have Alpha, he can just, after reinforcing the lines, as he did, start to buy CVs, which is what he did. He just drops off a CV, captures Foxtrot, and we're neutral. So I have a 117, 118 point lead, but it's not really going to mean that much, because he can easily capture Gulf, and there's the next CV coming in, and he can also either contest Bravo or try to push into it. Now, bringing in a couple of Motor Strelki, of course it was going to go pretty poorly against the Commander Marine. I also get the BTRTs involved, lots of frontal armor, as well as a grenade launcher, and carrying Sappery. Again, over on the right, nothing much is happening. I can still see his Flak Panzers. I have my Motor Strelki in case he tries to maneuver here. But beyond that, I don't have a lot. I was still focused on getting into Bravo. Bravo is going to be the scene of the crime a little later on. Now the Motor Strelki over here, I think we're getting, well, sort of randomly shelled again by the Caesars. The Caesars are very quickly draining the FOB. It's already down to 4,000 out of 16,000 supplies. So those Caesars are very much draining that FOB quickly. And the Motor Strelki are taking some hits, which means that pushing up is not in my best interest right now. Again, I think it's just random to make sure that I cannot push here, and it works. Another bit of an aerial skirmish over there with a 23 MLD and a 25 PD. Nothing too serious. When it comes to buying the 23 MLD, it's better at taking down helos. I bought the wrong one. The 25 PD would have been the better buy, but I think I already lost one, and the other one had to get a buddy, otherwise it was not going to be too effective. In this deck, again copied from Genghis / Putin 187, I have both a MiG-25 PD, I have the 23, and I have the Yak, the 141. So I have plenty of fighters to try and keep the enemy at bay. It might be a bit much. Now this is something I'm pretty interested in. How does he know that there's a helo there? The only thing I can imagine is that he doesn't. But it was here at some point. And his aerial units, his aircraft, saw that. No, he can see it. Wow. Is that the Fernspeyer that can see that? Yeah, must have been. So that's why he was shelling the K-52. Now, at this point, I decided to start putting into Bravo. And I moved forward with a command tank. It is expensive, yes. It's 200 points, but it can take a beating. And with all the random shelling that we were taking from the Caesars, it's probably the best option that I have at this point. Because the other CVs that I have in this deck are the BRDM-2U and Command Infantry. As a sort of a QRF, I have a 24 VP sitting back here. Rocket pods and autocannon at the ready. Kokon M more of an afterthought. Now at this point, he, as you can clearly see, is getting ready for an offensive. I'm not sure if he's trying to push or if he's trying to get ready for my offensive, but he's definitely getting a lot of units in here. He kills off another one of my Motor Strelki. And here comes a Tornado IDS, which does not get countered at all. Because I do not have any kind of NTR. nor do I have much of an air force. And he manages to blow up my resupply vehicle, damage my BMP, or sorry, my BMPT, and does a little bit of morale damage to the BTRT. I try and chase down one of his bombers and lose both of my aircraft. This was a big overextension. Never should have pushed my air force into there. But what I was trying to hit, I think, was the Tiger. Although, no, actually, no. The Tiger was just more of an accidental target, as I just decided to throw down some retaliatory missile strike after the Caesars were firing from that position. Instead, I almost killed his fob. Oh well, it would have shut up his Caesars anyway. Now, the K-52 repaired, I decided to try and scout out whatever the hell was spotting my unit, being the K-52, so I do a bit of a loop around, but I don't find it because it's the Fernspeyer over there. Once again, more reinforcements coming into Bravo. The Fuchs over there with a quad stack of M42A1 anti-air-ish. Stats on these, 15 pointers, 40mm autocannon, 2 frontal armor, terrible autonomy, but for this map it's enough. And they are able to do damage against helicopters and ground units similarly. Now this is where I also decide to buy a triple stack of T-80s. The T-80s, not terribly expensive, 65 points each. I'm bringing them in to get fire support. 4 HE with 9 rounds a minute rate of fire will kill most infantry pretty quickly. And, well, they prove to be a godsend. Because this is a disaster waiting to happen. For both sides. I have my infantry standing by, and this is when all the flak panzers move up. They are clearly readying for an offensive. He also has one squad of legionnaire over there, trying to get the building. And the T-80s are in position. I had no idea that he was mounting anything here. But when the bombers started coming, I thought, this is not good. Here comes the airstrike. The BTRT is fortunately fine, but could have easily been hit. T-80 UK in a position here. It is on the edge of the forest. It can and will open up. And this is when the flak panzers move in. Skirmishes immediately drop off their VDV, and there are a lot of vehicles. This is when these things really started earning their keep. The T-80s, designed in my deck to be on the offensive, were stelping the flow of units over here. They were making sure that this offensive would fail. Of course, that's not all of it, because he also has infantry here, and he has a line of 10 RCs and SBs over there. And that's what the command tank decides to take a couple of shots at, and starts to eliminate units. Of course, at this range, the gun on the AMX-10RC is deadly. And even though I'm taking down units as quickly as possible, I cannot take them down fast enough. Now, at this point, both of our attentions were completely on this. At least, I think they were. He still has a fighter around. He has a couple of tanks he's bringing in. I am dealing a lot of damage to his fire support. All of his vehicles are now gone, with the exception of this 42A1. My command tank is dead. There's still a squad of Commander Marine moving forward. The BMPT over here is making short work of the fire supports, so the VABs die. And I move forward with the T-80s. Because my thinking was, he just threw everything at me. And this is something that I've had happen quite a few times. Where somebody throws everything at me and I do not retaliate. This time I thought, okay, I have 3 tanks, I'm going to retaliate. First, I'm going to clear up the Jaeger. Making sure that these guys do not push any further. Skirmishes gets killed off by the Commander Marine. And I keep the T-80s at range. Now, even though I will lose this battle, I am going to try and just see what happens. This was very much an experiment for me. How much can 3 T-80s do if they don't have anti-air and if they do not have recon? Well, it turned out they can do quite a lot. Because there goes the Commander Marines, taking a lot of fire from the T-80s, and they might be in the tree line, but this is a lot for them to chew off. The T-80s then decide to move up. Yes, there are still Jaeger around, and yes, there are still more Commander Marine, but I have 3 T-80s. One of the Jaeger takes a shot and promptly gets rewarded with 3 4HE shots. Command Marine try the same thing, and they also get obliterated. And at this point, it's pretty much game time for me, because he has nothing that can stop this at the moment. I have 1 stabilization malfunction for about 2 minutes on a T-80 and I lose 1. AMX 10RC gets pushed in. By some miracle, the Peace Rhine misses, despite these missiles being pretty damn reliable. And the T-80, one of them died, but that was, I think, due to the AMX 10RC. Now, I get really lucky here. The T-80s open up against the AMX 30B2, which does not have a stabilizer and cannot retaliate. I hit it once, and I cause a optical failure. The tank is now blind, which means I can easily wipe it out. But first, the CV. Kill the CV. And then the AMX 30B2 pulls back. Because I think this is when Chopser saw that the tank was blind and decided not to push anymore. Open up against the transport, killing the infantry inside. And I think they had acquired the tank, but then lost it as the tank went deeper inside the tree line. And this is where I have a distinct lack of anti-air. Because not only can he keep sending in his anti-tank planes, I completely blanked on the name, the Peace Rhines, but also the Tiger helicopter and the Panther. One does stun damage, one does the actual kills with the hot missiles, and now I don't have anywhere to go. He also calls in more units as a quick response force, Pumas and Panthers, and that one T-80 just doesn't have anywhere to go, gets sideshot by the Tiger, and I lose the offensive. But, well, this exhausted both parties here. Neither of us really had anywhere to go. This is very poorly done. The MiG-23 MLD gets shot at by the Crotal, the VDAA, another AMX-13 over there. But I didn't care about any of that, I just wanted that Tiger dead. That Tiger had been buggering me for quite a while, so I try to maneuver in and promptly get rewarded for my trouble by getting the aircraft shot out of the sky. At this point, he is at 139, I'm at 122, but he's taking a +1. Thank God I was able to kill his CV over there, otherwise this would have been far more difficult. Far more difficult. Now we got the Panther and the Pirate arriving. I'm trying to take down a bomber and I lose my yak in the process. And even though I was doing some damage against his air force, it was not enough. And as you can see, the AMX-13 over there is definitely capable of intercepting my reinforcements. And my 8 MTVs with the VDV. They're getting shot down. If not by them, then by the Crotal all the way over there. Fortunately, I think I'm able to save one. No, actually. I decided to move forward with the Skirmishes and the BMPT, and the BMPT is able to deal some damage against their anti-air gun. And the AMX 10RC at that. But unfortunately, I don't really have any infantry to follow up with. And the moment that I encounter a tank, that's when the trouble begins for the BMPT. Although at very short range, I might be able to make that work. What I did not cover is that I had a little bit of skirmish between an AMX 10RC and a T-72 1989. I think I lost one of these tanks due to an ATGM coming either out of there or out of a Peace Rhine. But over here on the right side, there's not much happening. At this point, I am getting a little desperate. So we're going to do a little bit of blind firing. You're going to see the Wargame open up at some point, and I'm going to try and just guess where his CV is and hope that I can hit it. I'm still trying to sense if he's weak here, where he did that massive push. He's already reinforcing his line, he's just repairing it. And a single squad of VDV against Commander Marine with fire support is not going to work. So the VDV promptly die. There we go. There's the artillery strike. I had some idea that the CV would be over there. And do I even hit it? No. I panicked it, but the missile impacts were pretty much all around the vehicle except on top of it. No hits, no kills. And the other CV is down there in the middle of the town, whereas my rocket artillery strike was going to be over there. Skyjets trying to get the Panther killed. Unfortunately, these things take, I think, 100 shots and then reload. And once again, it's the Caesars, this time getting supplied by a quad stack of logistics units as the FOB is completely drained, which are taking shots at my CV. It has a bit of armor, and that's the only thing that's keeping it together right now, because there's nothing else there. Artillery strike, but the command infantry is over there, not in here. I was just trying to get as many CVs killed as possible. Despite the fact that I had the idea that he was probably using command infantry, so that's 3 units per card. And I already saw the P4 PC, so that's another 7 CVs. So trying to get all of his CVs killed, or make sure that he cannot get any more CVs in, was pretty much a losing proposition. On top of that, I only had 7 minutes left. I do not have the time. But I was decided to stick it out for as long as I could. Unfortunately, too many mistakes. Too many different things that I should have done different that just did not go through. Another triple stack of T-80s comes up, and once again, in the nick of time. Because once again, there's a Flak Panzer offensive. This was, again, pure coincidence that these guys showed up when they did. They do kill the command vehicle, and the HGM from the Tiger once again kills a T-80. Again, a repeat performance of last time. But I am capable of wiping out all of his Flak Panzers. Not a lot of good it did me, but despite that, it was satisfying to once again see his vehicles get obliterated by T-80s. And finally, the Tunguska is able to nail the Tiger. This Tiger has caused me a lot of trouble. Unfortunately, it took me about 30 minutes to take it down. Now, to recap this game, I did not have enough reconnaissance as I was trying to get into Gulf. That initial push with the tanks could have worked, because with the smokescreen, and it would have had to been a different mortar. Currently I was using the Nona, but it should have been a Potnos. I would have been able to smoke up my tanks and start dealing more damage, if only I had a spotter. Had I had used the Ka-52 as a recon unit, it would have been taken down by the Crotal, because I think he had 2 of those initially. So the Crotal outranging the Ka-52 would have blinded me instantly. The alternative, not great. But I should have just pushed reconnaissance infantry into there. Just as Spetsnaz grew in there ASAP using a BTR-90, not a helo, BTR-90. Get in there, spot everything, and start dealing damage. It would also have prevented him from capturing the buildings and making it utterly impossible for me to get in there. So, that was my, well, not strictly my first experience with the USSR deck, but my second. At least in ranked, that is. It has potential, but I need to get used to the playstyle. And I am going to continue to practice. Lately, I have been having a lot of losses. It is not particularly motivating, but I do find myself wanting to come back to ranked time and time again. No matter how much I lose, I want to keep getting better, and I know that losing is the price that you pay. Now, I hope that I'm able to inspire some people to also start playing ranked. Sometimes I get a comment saying, hey, because of your videos, I also start playing ranked. Great, because, well, I'm learning a lot about the game. I'm learning a lot about the decks. It's like I'm seeing the game for the first time. From a different perspective, if you will. Not necessarily a great perspective, because I'm realizing how flawed some of my strategies are and have been for the past 7 years, but I feel like I am getting better at the game again. Hope you guys are enjoying the journey with me. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. If you want to use the deck, check the description. And aside from that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon for another video.